This week on Viewpoints.
Camouflage is always a kind of partnership.
From dazzle ships to digital camo, how artists change the way war looks. Then,
if you are providing financial support to your children, adult children, there are definitely strings that should be attached.
Why are so many parents stuck in this never-ending cycle? I'm Marty Peterson.
And I'm Gary Price. These stories in depth this week on your public affairs magazine, Viewpoints.
Choose to show up. With the bold styling of the Mazda CX-30.
I wake up.
Always find what you love at Total Wine & More. With so many great bottles to choose from at the lowest price, it's easy to find your favorite or something new with help from one of their friendly guides. Every bottle comes with the confidence of knowing you just found something amazing. With the lowest prices for over 30 years, find what you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine & More. Spirits not sold in Virginia and North Carolina. Drink responsibly. B21.
camouflage and the military have always gone hand in hand. Today, it's easy to think of camo as standard issue, digital patterns and muted colors, all designed to disappear into the background. But it hasn't always looked this way, and according to author Roy Behrens, camouflage has never been just about clothing or color, but about perception.
Camouflage is always a kind of partnership. It's a back and forth between vision, the person who is looking, and then the appearance of what they're looking at.
Behrens has been studying and writing about camouflage for more than 5 decades. With a background in graphic design, he's part of a long line of artists who have shaped how camouflage works and evolves. In fact, artists were among the first to bring camouflage into modern warfare and took their cues from nature. They looked at owls that blend into tree bark or Arctic hares who turn white with the seasons. Behrens says humans have used camouflage since prehistoric times, but it wasn't until World War I that militaries began to adopt it out of necessity.
It was so effective that they were sinking just the most incredible number of British ships in 1 week. And there was a great panic, and especially for England because it's an island. And so if they don't grow their own food or if they don't get shipments from other countries, they're really in trouble. And things were not looking good for them in terms of winning the war. And so they decided that what they needed to do was to apply camouflage, of course, to their own ships. Then hopefully it would make it harder for the U-boats to aim at them.
German U-boats were sinking British ships at an alarming rate. Hiding at sea was nearly impossible because the ocean never held still. So the British tried a different approach. Instead of making ships invisible, they tried to make them confusing. Enter Norman Wilkinson, an artist who proposed something radical.
What happened is that they discovered that if they could paint the surface of these British ships with confusing patterns, so that from a distance, and you have to realize this is from a couple of miles away, and they're looking through a periscope, and the water is maybe pretty turbulent, and maybe the wind is blowing, maybe a lot of waves, maybe the moisture is fogging up the periscope. Somehow, they have to decide exactly where is that British ship located, and which direction exactly is it headed? And then finally, what speed is it going at? And if they can't determine those 3 factors, then the U-boats are going to have great difficulty in firing a torpedo accurately.
The British military took on the idea. In 1917, they painted their ships with Wilkinson's abstract designs and colors. They called it dazzle camouflage, where no 2 ships looked alike.
It was difficult for the British Navy to accept the strategy because they had been painting all of their ships a sort of battleship gray, and they thought that that was the best camouflage for ships. But it turned out it wasn't, and when they instead thought that they would try these highly disruptive, colorful patterns, boy, that was a difficult thing for them to accept.
This marked a sharp break from tradition. Gray and black warships gave way to stripes, angles, and bold color. The designs drew public curiosity and military skepticism, but it worked. When the U.S. entered the war, it adopted dazzle camouflage too and quickly expanded it. The Navy turned to artists called camoufleurs to reimagine its ships. Within 8 months, more than 1,000 U.S. vessels were painted in abstract patterns.
Now, you have to realize that this is happening at a time when the American, the British, and the French public are all very excited about modern art, which had premiered in this country in 1913, just before the war, at the Armory Show. And they were really puzzled by things like Cubism and Futurism and stuff like that. And when they looked at these dazzle-painted ships, a lot of the people in newspapers said, oh, those look like they were done by a drunken cubist.
When it came to soldiers' uniforms, the U.S. opted for plain khaki and green fabric during World War I. For years, artists campaigned for the military to start using colors found in nature to better protect troops. During the late 1800s, a well-known American artist named Abbott Henderson Thayer pushed this idea forward.
And he said, you should stop using khaki, meaning one color, sort of sand-colored uniforms. You should stop issuing those for ground soldiers. You might think it's inconspicuous, but really it's simply the same idea of applying a nondescript gray or brown to a plain surface. And he said, it doesn't make the soldier less visible. It actually, to some extent, makes them more conspicuous. And he said the reason for that is because here they are out there, and if any kind of sunlight shines on them, it begins to make shadows on their bodies and on their faces and stuff. So then they become quite discernible. And he said what you would better do would be the same kind of thing that is happening with the camouflage ship. You should break them up.
Thayer's ideas didn't fully take hold until the Vietnam War, when dense terrain made camouflage a necessity. From there, military camo became more systematic and more precise. Bright colors and abstract designs faded. In their place came small, pixelated patterns meant to break up the human form from a distance. These designs are harder to detect by the eye and by night vision technology. Today, camouflage is designed for more than fabric. It factors in drones, thermal imaging, and digital surveillance, but the end goal remains the same. Who knows what camo may look like 20, 30, or 100 years from now? You can find more info about this topic and our guest, Roy Behrens, at our website, viewpointsradio.org. Follow Viewpoints Radio on Instagram, X, and Facebook. This story was written by Annabelle Rivera and Amirah Zaveri. Our studio manager is Jay Silvers. I'm Gary Price.
Coming up, how good intentions around money can lead to unexpected consequences when Viewpoints returns.
Life's busy. Don't let banking slow you down. Whether you're paying bills, setting savings goals, or just splitting the check, Atlantic Union Bank makes managing your money easier. With helpful people and user-friendly tools, we make sure banking with us fits you. Call, visit us online, or drop into an Atlantic Union Bank branch today. Atlantic Union Bank. Any way you bank.
That ugly red couch you've had for a decade? It's been living with you way longer than you ever thought it would. Because let's face it, great quality furniture just feels out of reach. Or it used to. Until you found HomeSense. The days of overpaying for good taste are done. Now, you can fill your home with the standout pieces you've coveted but couldn't afford. And you can finally kick that sad sofa straight to the curb. Welcome to HomeSense, the home of no compromise.
At Amica Insurance, we know it's not just what's inside your home that matters. It's who you share it with. That's why we work even harder to protect it. Visit amica.com and get a quote today.
Try Angel Soft for your tushy. It's made by angels. Soft and strong, budget friendly. The choice is simple. Pick up a pack today.
Angel Soft.
Soft and strong, simple.
For many families today, adulthood doesn't look the way it used to. The reality is that more young people are living at home for longer, and not by choice, but by necessity. According to the Pew Research Center, 57% of Americans between the ages of 18 and 24 are still living with their parents. That's more than double the share from the 1960s. This is often called a failure to launch, but with housing and living costs outpacing pay, many young adults simply can't afford to live on their own. Parents step in to help, but that support can sometimes become complicated. One expert on the topic is Blad Klontz, a financial psychologist who helps families navigate certain financial and emotional complexities.
In many ways, money is attached to everything that really matters in life. It's love and security and creativity and exploration. And the idea of that I'm going to limit the amount of love that I show my child is counterintuitive for many of us. And especially if not really conscious of what are the psychological and behavioral effects of money that we are giving our children or things we're providing them, it's real easy to get, I would say, ahead of your skis and realize, oh, perhaps I am reinforcing behaviors that it turns out they're not going so well. And there's perhaps some negative consequences I'm seeing emerge from my children. We usually sort of wake up and realize that it's less of something we start out to do.
He's also the author of the book, Start Thinking Rich. He says living together in this day and age isn't the problem and shouldn't be seen as a sign of falling behind. In much of the world, many intergenerational families live in the same house to save money and spread out childcare and caregiving responsibilities.
We can feel like a failure if we're, 22 and we don't have our own apartment. And I just want people to challenge that mindset. Like maybe you're better off getting 2 or 3 or 4 roommates. You can dramatically decrease your number one expense. And maybe you're related to those roommates. I don't know. And maybe that's okay. I think it's really important, regardless of the situation, that you're contributing to the household. But I think it's not a bad time to re-examine some of the assumptions we make about what we should be doing.
Living at home can be a practical solution. But problems tend to start when expectations are left unsaid, when it's unclear whether this is a short-term arrangement or a merging of households, and what the long-term plan actually is. Without clear boundaries around money and responsibility, for some parents it can feel less like shared living and more like they're raising their child all over again.
The role of parent-child probably should be shifting, probably should have shifted before that, where you're not in the default mode of doing their laundry or whatever, doing those things that a parent does, that it's probably difficult for some people to shake. I've got a 12-year-old and 8-year-old, and I know some 12-year-olds are doing their own laundry, cooking their own dinners. So it just depends on when you start to institute those independent living behaviors. But I think it's approaching it consciously and purposefully. And I'd also want to be doing it for a larger purpose too. So if they do have a minimum wage job, that's great. But what are the plans for them to gain more independence in the future? Are they saving and investing? Are they pursuing further, work or academic pursuits? What's the game plan here? I think is a good idea too. So a frame of reference around how long we're going to be doing this.
And if parents are helping children out financially, Klontz says it works best when there are set, clear conditions as part of the agreement.
I feel like if you are providing financial support to your children, adult children, there are definitely strings that should be attached. And some of those strings could be that, I'm going to kind of push you a little bit here to make sure you're saving and investing. Not that I need to be logging into your bank account or anything, but there's certain things I think we can come to agreements on. So you're going to be staying here. You're going to be using some of the household resources. I'd like to see you contribute in, the following fashion in terms of whether it's financially or whether it's carrying some of the workload. And then also, I want to see some positive actions that you're taking to better yourself.
Such expectations can build responsibility and accountability. At the same time, he warns that parents can also subconsciously attach strings that end up doing more harm than good.
Making them feel guilty or making them feel like they owe you. Or some people will use money to keep their kids close for their own psychological needs, not really thinking about, is this in the best interest of the children?
Klontz acknowledges that cutting off financial support can feel uncomfortable and even risky. However, without a clear endpoint, help can turn into dependence, and eventually the day comes when it can't continue.
It's a difficult transition for many people. And we start to think that, well, if I just give them a little bit more support, then they're going to engage in the behaviors that I think they should be engaging in. And then it just doesn't quite happen. And then before you know it, it's days and weeks and months and years where this pattern could be in place. So it's very subtle, I think, where people find themselves in this cycle of a child is financially dependent, and which is an entire behavioral, psychological affliction, essentially. And then you're enabling them. And financial enabling, the way I would describe it, is financial help that hurts.
What often makes it so difficult for parents to cut off the flow of funds is fear. Fear that their child might end up destitute, unhoused, or worse.
I would even frame it more emotional and catastrophic terms, because the ultimate fear is that if I am not providing a certain level of financial support, this child is going to die. And parents will do anything to keep that from happening, of course. It's the worst possible scenario in life for a parent to even consider. And so that's where it can become really challenging, because in more extreme circumstances, as you mentioned, when someone has a serious mental health issue or even a substance abuse issue, it's real easy from the sideline to say, hey, stop giving them money. They're using that to sort of support a lifestyle of not working, or perhaps even using the money for drugs or alcohol. It's real easy on the outside to say, oh yeah, just cut it off. But when it comes to being a parent, the fear is that if I do that, they're going to die.
Even if there are extenuating circumstances, Klontz says that under no circumstance should parents ever dip into their retirement savings to help their adult child. Doing so can lead to serious long-term consequences.
The last thing that they would really want is for you to not be able to retire. Or, what's the plan here? You give them all the money. So is then I would expect then the expectation is, so therefore, since I can't retire on my own, you're going to have to financially support me when I'm older. If I'm going to be giving you that money now, you have to financially support me. And I think that's a terrible burden to put on your child. So yeah, don't take any money out of your retirement to support them, because essentially they're going to have to support you then.
Even as the risks become clear, these patterns are often rooted in good intentions. When families find themselves in a cycle of financial dependence, it's not a personal failure, but a dynamic that can develop slowly and invisibly. Once that pattern is recognized and discussed, it opens the door that leads to clearer rules, expectations, and shared goals. To learn more about this topic and our guest, check out Blad Klontz's book, Start Thinking Rich, now available in select bookstores and online. You can also learn more by visiting our website at viewpointsradio.org. For more behind the scenes and to support our show, follow us at Viewpoints Radio on Instagram, X, and Facebook. This segment was written and produced by Polly Hansen. Our executive producer is Amirah Zaveri. Our studio manager is Jay Silvers. I'm Marty Peterson.
Viewpoints returns in just a moment.
Ever walk past a place for rent and wish you could just take a peek inside? Maybe even explore the layout. Envision the natural light streaming through the windows. Or plan where your vinyl record collection would go. At Apartments.com, you can. With tools like their 3D virtual tours, you can see the exact unit you could be living in. Really envision yourself in your new home with Apartments.com. the place to find a place.
Try Angel Soft for your tushy. It's made by angels. Soft and strong, budget friendly. The choice is simple. A roll that feels like paradise, and always at a heavenly price. Angel Soft, soft and strong, so it's simple.
Pick up a pack today.
Angel Soft.
Soft and strong, simple.
This is Viewpoints Explained. I'm Ebony McMorris. President Donald Trump has been publicly clashing with the Federal Reserve and has made it clear that he wants a different person in charge. The president has repeatedly criticized current Fed Chair Jerome Powell, arguing that interest rates should be lower and that the Fed's apprehensive approach is holding back economic growth. That tension shines a light on topics that most people don't think about very often: the broad power the Fed has to shape our economy and how its strategy can shift with the views of its leader. At its core, it's the nation's central bank. Its job is to keep the economy stable by balancing inflation and employment, mostly by setting interest rates. When inflation runs high, the Fed raises rates to cool things down. Borrowing money becomes more expensive, making people and businesses less likely to spend. The drop-off in demand can help bring prices down. On the other hand, when the economy slows too much, the Fed can lower rates to encourage spending and hiring. What makes this organization different from other government agencies is its free range. The chair and board aren't elected, and they're designed to operate independent of politics. That separation is intentional to help protect long-term economic decisions from any short-term political pressure. That's why some critics are fearful that the strong-arm approach of the Trump administration to try and remove Jerome Powell could end up doing more harm. Disputes between presidents and the Fed aren't just political drama. They raise a basic question about how much influence the White House should have over the economy's most powerful levers, particularly when those levers can be manipulated for a quick economic win at the cost of future stability. That's Viewpoints Explained for this week. More in a moment.
Welcome to Culture Crash, where we examine what's new and old in entertainment. In September of last year, the band 21 Pilots released their album Breach, an alt-pop rock offering from the hitmakers behind Stressed Out, Ride, and Car Radio. The album is a total force, with an electricity and an urgency that's potently felt in songs like Drum Show and Center Mass. One thing notably absent on the main album is its biggest social media hit by far. That would be a single that isn't, called Drag Path, only ever distributed as a bonus song on a digital-only release of the album, exclusively available for Breach's first week of release. Drag Path isn't on any CDs, vinyls, or streaming services. Despite its complete unavailability, Drag Path is a juggernaut on TikTok. Over the song's propulsive drums from Josh Dunn, lead singer Tyler Joseph contemplatively croons about a drag path etched in the surface as evidence I left there on purpose. Dramatic, inspiring, and more than a little bit haunting, Drag Path has been used to soundtrack countless videos that have scored millions of views on TikTok, ranging from gut-wrenching montages of couch cushions worn down by beloved pets who have died, and one very specific TikTok of a pufferfish, to an existential slideshow of ancient ruins and statues with the words, "A drag path, but it's the way humans ache to be remembered." Drag Path is a moody song that's resonating deeply, even though there's no legitimate way for the song to rack up official streams. Instead of cashing in on their viral trend, 21 Pilots has let the song run rampant on social media without announcing an additional release or increased availability. Maybe the song itself is a drag path, or maybe it's just cool. I'm Evan Rook.
Ever walk past a place for rent and wish you could just take a peek inside? Maybe even explore the layout. Envision the natural light streaming through the windows, or plan where your vinyl record collection would go. At Apartments.com, you can. With tools like their 3D virtual tours, you can see the exact unit you could be living in. Really envision yourself in your new home with Apartments.com, the place to find a place.
Try Angel Soft for your tushy. It's made by angels. Soft and strong, budget friendly. The choice is simple. A roll that feels like paradise, and always at a heavenly price. Angel Soft, Angel Soft. Soft and strong, so it's simple.
Pick up a pack today.
Angel Soft.
Soft and strong, simple.
And that's Viewpoints for this week. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to learn more about upcoming shows and find a library of past programs on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify. Plus, you'll always find previous segments and more information about our guests at viewpointsradio.org. Join us again next week for another edition of Viewpoints.
Bringing your business dreams to life takes heart and about 1,000 decisions a day. That's why Atlantic Union Bank's knowledgeable bankers are here for you with the right guidance and customized solutions to help you reach your business goals. So whether you're planning your next move, upgrading your space, or scaling to meet demand, we make sure your business is ready for what's ahead because we're big enough to support you, yet small enough to know you. Atlantic Union Bank. Any way you bank.
For adults with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms, every choice matters. Tremfya offers self-injection or intravenous infusion from the start. Tremfya is administered as injections under the skin or infusions through a vein every 4 weeks, followed by injections under the skin every 4 or 8 weeks. If your doctor decides that you can self-inject Tremfya, proper training is required. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active Crohn's disease and adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.
Before you begin your road trip, ask yourself, do you really need 5 full suitcases? With the 2026 Kia Sportage X-Pro's class-leading cargo space, you'll have room for what you need. Find out more at your local Kia dealer today. Keep the adventure going. Kia, movement that inspires.
Call 800-3334-KIA for details. Always drive safely and obey all traffic laws. Comparisons based on second row legroom and cargo space behind second row seats in the subcompact SUV class according to Kia segmentation as of October 2025.
Try Angel Soft for your tushy. It's made by angels. Soft and strong, budget friendly. The choice is simple. A roll that feels like paradise, and always at a heavenly price. Angel Soft, soft and strong, so it's simple.
Pick up a pack today.
Angel Soft.
Soft and strong, simple.